Hi guys. So when it comes to addiction, our thoughts tend to jump to things like drugs, food, and alcohol. However, the reality is most of us have an addiction of sorts. We all have some sort of tool that we use as a coping mechanism in order to avoid dealing with some of the more emotionally charged or difficult content of our lives. And oftentimes we create these coping mechanisms or defenses in our childhood, and as a result they can feel like a security blanket. They can feel like our best friend when actually they can be one of our worst enemies. They can hold us back from true connection to the self and connection to other people, and can actually get in the way of a really fulfilling, purposeful life. However, that being said, a lot of them are very socially acceptable addictions. When I say that, people can be so tied into things like work success. They can be tied into traits like perfectionism, having to be in control of circumstances at all times. There can be things like training, which I know is a big one for me. I suppose there's so many things, and despite the fact that they don't have the same negative consequences as maybe drugs or alcohol, they still prevent you from being in touch with your internal experience. And I suppose, as I said, it's not like with the likes of training, for example, I'm going to stop in the morning, because ultimately it has its benefits as well. But it's just being very careful about being aware of the purpose that something has in your life. Is there something that you tend to run to when you feel stressed? And it can be so many things. It can be your phone as a form of avoidance rather than having those conversations. It can be pornography. It can be whatever food it is that you have in your fridge. I mean, there's so many things that we do. There can be ways of behaving, lashing out in a defensive manner against other people, or withdrawing from other people. And these are all ways of defending yourself. They feel really safe, but the reality is they hold you back from the person who it is that you are meant to be. That being said, challenging them isn't always necessarily easy. I mean, we're usually using them to defend ourselves from highly emotive content, and we're not really given the skills required to navigate emotional content at a very young age. And as a result, we tend to struggle with it quite a bit. It can be a real form of discomfort for us. And yet, being aware of your emotional experience is required in order for you to find your purpose in life, for you to, I suppose, navigate a journey of self-discovery, to become self-aware, and ultimately to become accepting of yourself and of other people. But the thing with growth is it's often quite painful initially, and this is why so many people struggle with it. I mean, it's not easy to break down those defenses. It's not easy to let go of the control that you feel that you have to have over your life. I mean, ultimately, we feel like as if we control external circumstances, it's somehow going to extrapolate onto our internal experience. And ultimately, the thing is, when we're not in control on the inside, that's when we try to control everything on the outside. And yet there's nothing on the outside that we really are in control of. So we need to look within. We need to create that self-awareness. We need to get in touch with our emotional experience. We need to be in touch with the impact that our feelings have on our thoughts and on our behaviors. We need to get in touch with our triggers and be able to sit with them and be able to interpret what it is that they're trying to tell us. If it's a sign of past emotional pain that we've never processed, I mean, we need to do the work there. Otherwise, we're just going to spend our whole life bouncing from one painful event to another, and ultimately we're going to be at the mercy of those feelings. And it's kind of understanding that things won't have as much of an impact on you if you learn to deal with them. I mean, ultimately, as I said, we are generally all of our anxieties are created as a result of our relations with other people. And the reason that other people impact on us so much is because we have so much uncertainties and fears and undealt with emotional stuff on the inside. Whereas the more we deal with that, the less the external stuff is going to bother us. So it's about understanding that you can only control the controllables, and that is, your internal story, your internal experience. And I do see a lot of terminology like bandied about the place, and things like boundaries. And I think oftentimes people grab onto boundaries as yet another coping mechanism to protect themselves, or at least to, as a form of self preservation, which actually works against you. Because what they do is they're like, okay, that's outside of my comfort zone. I'm creating a boundary there. But that's not necessarily a healthy boundary, that's a wall. So it's basically just saying that, oh, this is something that brings me into a state of discomfort, so I'm not willing to go there. And ultimately that is again hampering on your growth. I mean, a boundary is something that should have a little bit of flexibility. It should be there to protect you. It's not there to protect your ego. It's not there to protect your coping mechanisms. And it's just important to know the difference. And it's just worth noting as well that oftentimes the things that we do to protect ourselves actually prevent us from making deep connections with other people, because a lot of what we experience in our day-to-day relationships is a projection of painful relationships from our past. And that doesn't mean that it's a life sentence. I mean, that can be fixed, but in order to fix it, you need to create an awareness of it. And not all of us are able to do that because, as I said, it is oftentimes a painful journey. It's certainly uncomfortable having to shake up the rooms of your past and work through all of the painful stuff. And most of us, by the time we get to, our kind of midlife, we have some sort of trauma in our past that we need to work through or just make our peace with. Because ultimately, that's what we all want. We all want peace of mind. We all want to feel as well that our life stands for something. We all want to feel purposeful and connected and, in tune with ourselves and with other people. I mean, that's what life is all about. We're a connected species. And yet we're in a culture that is causing more and more disconnect with, the technology that is available to us. And hence the reason all of these addictions are being created. You're seeing people being stuck to their phones. They're, addicted to pornography instead of focusing on physical connection with another person. And they'd prefer to sit in front of Netflix for 2 hours than actually have meaningful conversations. And I mean, this is the reason people are struggling so much. This is, one of the core reasons that people are lonely, that they're depressed, that they're anxious, because basically they're not dealing with all of the stuff inside. They're just zoning out, they're numbing out, and they're not aware of their internal experience, and they're not reaching out to other people when they need the help. If this is something that resonates with you, if there's something in your life that you feel that you're so reliant on to get you through your day, or if you feel that there's a lot of emotional stuff going on that you have never been able to fully process, if it's holding you back from connection in your relationships, from all of the meaningful interactions potentially there for you, get in touch with me on the website. It's fundamentals.ie. You'll also catch me on Facebook and Instagram. I do lots of content on my YouTube channel, which is called Fiona Feely. I'd appreciate it if you just subscribe to the channel, like and share any of the content that you enjoy or that you find helpful. And if there's anything that you'd like to hear me discuss specifically, be sure to drop me a line and I'd be more than happy to oblige.